Alberta could join the United States and basically help conservatives win in the US forever. I'm going to break it down right now, how they could leave Canada and what it would mean politically and electorally for the United States, because it's fascinating. Because even though it sounds crazy to some people, they're like, it's never going to happen, it's actually very feasible, and I'm going to break it down right here. So first, let's talk about how there's kind of a few steps, right? How is Alberta going to leave Canada? How is Alberta going to join the United States? And what does it mean politically? How Alberta leaves Canada, and the reason why I'm talking about this, of course, is they're famously conservative, very religious. A lot of members of my church live in Calgary and Edmonton. Very conservative people. They don't really jive with the rest of Canada, to put it lightly. And I'm talking about it because the election just happened and the Liberals won, much to the chagrin of Alberta. How they would do this is first they essentially have to get a referendum up and agree as Albertans, I think that's how you say it, on the ballot. That's what they want. And that's feasible. About 54% of Alberta, according to ChatGPT, I looked it up on ChatGPT, is conservative. But the thing is with that, guys, is that does not actually tell the whole story, because 31 of their 37 seats in Parliament are conservative. So it's a huge majority in Alberta. The second thing that they have to do is kind of simple. They have to negotiate their debts and their assets with the federal government, make sure they're detached from them. And then finally, they do actually have to pass a constitutional amendment in Canada, which would require the House of Commons, the Senate, and 2/3 of the provinces to agree, which is a similar process that the United States would go through as well if Texas, for instance, wanted to succeed. The thing is with all of that, sounds kind of crazy. Well, that's a lot of steps you have to go through. The Liberals in Canada have every incentive to do this. They really do, because you have to realize that if they get rid of Alberta, they're never losing an election again. They never are. And so it's actually a win-win. Alberta actually gets to go somewhere where they're valued, and Liberals get to have their crazy commie land in Canada. They would never lose again. They would not. So if that happens, then they leave. Then the U.S. has to take them in. And that requires a majority in the House, the Senate, and the president to sign it. That's all. So in other words, Republicans could do it right now. If Alberta was their own, basically they would have to secede, be their own nation for a day. If that was the case today, Congress, the Senate, and President Trump could make it a reality literally today. So the question is, this is where it gets really interesting, is how much political power would Alberta have as a red state, as the 51st state in America? Alberta has a population of 5 million people, which means I live in Utah. We have 6 electoral votes. I think we have like a population of 3.4 million, so not quite as big as Alberta. They would likely get about 8 electoral votes, which is pretty significant. Bigger than Arizona, swing state, bigger than Nevada, also a swing state. In other words, guys, Republicans would have a way bigger chance of winning the presidency every single year. And this is where it gets crazy. They would have 2 more red Republican senators and 6 congressmen in the Senate and Congress, respectively. So all of that to say, Trump joking about Canada being the 51st state is largely a waste of time, in my opinion. I actually think it's bad. I think it wasn't fantastic for the Canadian election, though it was not ultimately his fault, as I talked about on the show yesterday. However, if we're talking about just Alberta being the 51st state, it's great. It's fantastic. It's great for Alberta. It's great for the United States. And again, if Alberta wants it, it could definitely happen. If you guys enjoy reading, but you don't know what to read right now, I wanted to introduce you to my book, A New Cult. It's up on the bookshelf over there. I talk about how the left is literally a cult now, and I talk about it in some very plain terms, talk about some crazy stories. I know you'll enjoy reading it. Go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe again so that I can afford a hair transplant and finally go to Turkey, or you can also watch another video right here.